3. Mazda CX-5 years generated more engine consumption complaints than every other production year combined. That's not bad luck. That's a pattern Mazda's warranty department knows by heart. Dealers know this. That's why they quietly filter out those exact years while still selling them privately without a single word of warning. Today, I'm exposing 3 worst and 4 best Mazda CX-5 years to buy. What holds up, what falls apart, and what Mazda's own internal reliability data actually shows. Let's get into it. The 3 worst Mazda CX-5 years to avoid. Worst number 3, the 2014 Mazda CX-5. The early production years of any new automotive platform carry massive inherent risks. The 2014 Mazda CX-5 represents a dangerous transition period for the manufacturer. Mazda heavily marketed their brand new Skyactiv technology suite, promising exceptional fuel economy without relying on fragile, continuously variable transmissions. While the underlying architecture was brilliant, the physical execution during this specific model year resulted in incredibly frustrating, highly expensive mechanical quirks. The primary powertrain available is the 2.0-liter Skyactiv 4-cylinder engine. This engine utilizes an incredibly high 13:1 compression ratio. A standard passenger vehicle engine typically operates around a 10:1 ratio. To achieve this extreme compression without causing violent engine knock or premature fuel detonation, Mazda engineered a massive 421 exhaust header. This specialized header utilizes elongated primary exhaust pipes to isolate exhaust pulses, utilizing the vacuum created by one cylinder to pull residual exhaust gases out of the neighboring cylinder. While the engine block itself is structurally durable, the 2.0-liter configuration is severely underpowered for a heavy crossover. It produces a sluggish 155 horsepower. The vehicle weighs over 3,300 pounds. Because the power-to-weight ratio is terribly mismatched, drivers must aggressively press the gas pedal to the floor simply to merge onto a highway or execute a passing maneuver. This constant high RPM demand completely negates the promised fuel efficiency, returning dismal real-world economy. The catastrophic flaw of this specific year lies within the Skyactiv Drive 6-speed automatic transmission. This is not a traditional automatic transmission, nor is it a continuously variable transmission. It utilizes a highly unique internal architecture featuring a standard fluid-filled torque converter for smooth low-speed acceleration from a dead stop. However, to maximize fuel economy, Mazda engineered a complex multi-plate lockup clutch that engages immediately after launching. This lockup clutch physically binds the engine output shaft directly to the transmission input shaft, bypassing the fluid coupling of the torque converter. This forces the transmission to operate exactly like a mechanical manual transmission for 80% of the drive cycle, eliminating parasitic drivetrain loss. During the 2014 model year, the software calibration programmed into the transmission control module and the physical friction materials utilized inside the internal clutch packs were severely flawed. When decelerating to a stop, the transmission must sequentially downshift through the gear ratios. The internal lockup clutch fails to release properly or releases entirely out of sequence. When the hydraulic pressure fails to disengage the clutch plates, the entire rotational mass of the engine drags against the slowing drivetrain, causing the entire vehicle to violently lunge and jerk forward. It feels exactly like being rear-ended by another vehicle at a stoplight. Dealerships attempt to fix this with simple software updates to alter the hydraulic line pressure, but the physical clutch packs inside the transmission frequently wear out prematurely from the constant binding. Rebuilding this highly specialized transmission requires an expert technician and costs roughly $3,500. Furthermore, the braking system features a massive engineering oversight regarding basic metallurgy and weather resistance. The rear brake calipers utilize a floating design, sliding back and forth on metal guide pins to apply even pressure to the brake pads. The rear brake caliper slide pins completely lack proper factory lubrication and fail to utilize high-quality weather seals. Over a single winter of driving in adverse weather, road salt and moisture bypass the rubber boots. These metal slide pins aggressively rust and undergo galvanic corrosion, seizing completely solid inside the cast iron caliper bracket. When the pin seize, the brake caliper cannot retract. The brake pads are permanently forced against the spinning steel brake rotor. The immense friction violently grinds the brake pads down to the metal backing plate in under 15,000 miles. This constant friction completely destroys the brake rotors by overheating the steel until it warps, requiring a massive $800 brake replacement job to replace the calipers, pads, and rotors simultaneously. A lunging transmission and seizing brakes create a terrifying daily commute, but the next vehicle features a cosmetic upgrade that forces owners to spend thousands of dollars to fix a simple burned-out light bulb. Worst number 2, the 2016 Mazda CX-5. Automotive mid-cycle refreshes are historically designed to improve aesthetics and fix previous engineering mistakes. The 2016 Mazda CX-5 received a massive exterior redesign featuring highly aggressive front styling, improved sound deadening, and a heavily modernized interior. The market aggressively purchased this model, genuinely believing it was the absolute pinnacle of the first generation. In reality, Mazda introduced highly experimental exterior components that fail at a catastrophic rate. The absolute most devastating flaw of the 2016 model year is the LED daytime running light system. Mazda abandoned traditional, replaceable halogen bulbs and installed completely sealed, highly complex LED headlight assemblies. The LED strips surround the main projector beam, providing a striking visual signature designed to mimic premium European styling. The mechanical reality is a complete disaster in thermal management. Light-emitting diodes generate immense localized heat at the semiconductor junction. If this heat is not properly dissipated through a robust aluminum heatsink, the diode destroys itself. The internal circuitry powering the LED strips inside the 2016 headlight severely overheats. The enclosed plastic housing acts as an oven, trapping the thermal energy. The heat completely melts the internal wiring harnesses and burns out the primary LED diodes. The daytime running lights begin to visibly flicker, turn an ugly yellow hue as the phosphors degrade, and eventually die completely. Because the headlight assembly is a completely sealed, fused polycarbonate plastic unit, you cannot simply open the back of the housing and replace a $10 bulb. The absolute only solution is to physically remove the front bumper cover, disconnect the primary wiring harness, and replace the entire sealed headlight assembly. A single replacement headlight from the Mazda dealership parts counter costs a staggering $1,200. If both headlights fail, you face a $2,400 repair bill for burned-out light bulbs. In addition to the catastrophic headlight failure, the windshield glass utilized in this specific year is dangerously fragile. To reduce cabin noise and shed physical vehicle weight, Mazda utilized incredibly thin acoustic glass for the front windshield. Standard automotive windshields sandwich a thick layer of polyvinyl butyryl between two sheets of glass. For the 2016 model, the exterior glass layer was manufactured to an exceptionally thin tolerance to save weight, while the internal acoustic resin layer was modified to absorb specific sound frequencies. The physical frame of the CX-5 unibody chassis flexes slightly when traversing speed bumps, entering steep driveways at an angle, or driving over uneven pavement. Because the windshield glass is excessively thin, it cannot handle the torsional stress transferred from the chassis through the A-pillars. Owners report massive spiderweb cracks violently spreading across the entire windshield overnight, completely without any physical rock impacts or external damage. The windshield literally shatters itself due to internal structural tension acting upon the thinned glass. Because the upper section of the windshield houses the forward-facing laser sensors and camera equipment for the Smart City brake support system, replacing the glass requires highly specialized calibration. An independent glass repair shop must position specialized target boards in front of the vehicle and use proprietary computer software to recalibrate the laser sensors after installing the new windshield to ensure the automatic emergency braking system calculates distance accurately. A simple windshield replacement instantly transforms into a massive $900 repair invoice. Finally, the infotainment system digitizer begins to fail due to extreme temperature fluctuations. The central dashboard screen relies on a capacitive touch-sensitive layer glued directly over a liquid crystal display. The extreme heat of the enclosed cabin, combined with direct ultraviolet exposure from the sun, causes the optical clear adhesive binding the touch-sensitive layer to physically break down. The digitizer delaminates from the LCD display underneath. This separation triggers a catastrophic electrical error known universally as ghost touch. The capacitive matrix actively believes a physical finger is rapidly pressing various coordinates across the display. The system will violently change radio stations, randomly navigate through complex system menus, and actively dial contacts from your connected phone book via Bluetooth while you're driving down the highway. Replacing the entire screen assembly requires dismantling the central dashboard trim and costs roughly $800. Replacing entire headlights for a burned-out bulb is a massive financial drain. But the final vehicle on our worst list harbors a fatal engineering flaw that literally cracks the engine block in half. Worst number 1. The 2018 Mazda CX-5. Federal fuel economy regulations force automakers to make desperate engineering decisions to comply with strict corporate average fuel economy standards. The second generation of the Mazda CX-5 is undeniably stunning, featuring premium interior materials, authentic metal trim, and stitched leather surfaces that rival authentic luxury brands. However, for the 2018 model year, Mazda attempted to increase their corporate fuel economy average by introducing a highly complex, fundamentally flawed mechanical system system to their proven powertrain architecture. Mazda introduced cylinder deactivation to the 2.5-liter Skyactiv 4-cylinder engine. When cruising steadily on the highway under light throttle loads, the engine control module commands an electronic oil control valve to open. High-pressure engine oil floods specific internal galleries drilled directly through the aluminum cylinder head. This oil pressure forces specialized hydraulic lash adjusters to physically collapse. When the hydraulic lash adjusters collapse, the pivot point of the rocker arms drops. The overhead camshaft lobe continues to spin and push against the rocker arm, but because the pivot point has collapsed, the mechanical leverage fails to compress the heavy valve springs. The rocker arms disconnect functionally, permanently holding the intake and exhaust valves completely closed on cylinders number 1 and 4. This effectively turns the massive 2.5-liter 4-cylinder engine into a tiny 2-cylinder engine, operating entirely on cylinders 2 and 3 to save a microscopic fraction of a mile per gallon. The mechanical execution of this system was a complete catastrophe. To route the high-pressure engine oil to the newly designed hydraulic lash adjusters, Mazda engineers had to drastically alter the physical metallurgical casting of the aluminum cylinder head. They engineered complex internal oil galleries directly through the structural metal of the engine block. This drilling and casting process created a microscopic structural weak point directly at the rocker arm pivot bore. The engine block undergoes massive thermal expansion and contraction cycles during daily driving, heating up to operating temperature and cooling back down in freezing weather. Over thousands of miles, the structural tension at that specific weak point, combined with the mechanical hammering of the camshaft, becomes immense. Without a single warning light, the aluminum cylinder head literally cracks open along the fault line created by the oil gallery. When the cylinder head cracks, highly pressurized engine oil violently leaks out of the internal galleries and sprays directly down the back of the hot engine block. The leaking oil pools directly onto the blistering hot exhaust manifold and the primary catalytic converter housing. The oil instantly incinerates upon contact with the metal, causing thick, toxic, burning blue smoke to completely engulf the engine bay and aggressively penetrate the interior cabin through the fresh air intake of the air conditioning vents. This is not a minor rubber gasket leak or a loose bolt. The actual structural metal casting of the engine has completely failed. Repairing a cracked cylinder head is an absolutely massive mechanical undertaking. A master mechanic must drain the engine coolant, remove the intake manifold, unbolt the exhaust manifold, detach the high-pressure direct fuel injection pump, remove the complex timing chain cover, lock the engine timing, remove the heavy steel timing chain, and extract the dual overhead camshafts. They must physically unbolt the top half of the engine block from the short block, lift off the heavy cylinder head, and discard it entirely into the scrap bin. They must install a brand new revised cylinder head assembly, requiring new head bolts, multi-layer steel head gaskets, and precise torque sequencing. This repair requires highly specialized dealership tools and dozens of hours of labor. The total repair bill easily exceeds $3,500. While Mazda issued a software recall attempting to alter the timing parameters of the cylinder deactivation system to reduce the sudden mechanical stress applied to the valve train, the physical casting flaw remains permanently present in the structural metal. If you purchase a used 2018 model outside of the strict factory powertrain warranty window, you're accepting the catastrophic financial liability of a shattering engine block. Engine replacement is the ultimate financial nightmare, but the manufacturer immediately rectified these mistakes in specific production years. The first vehicle on our best list utilizes traditional heavy metal engineering to completely avoid these disasters. The 4 best Mazda CX-5 years to buy. Best number 4, the 2015 Mazda CX-5. Finding the absolute peak of a specific automotive generation is the ultimate financial cheat code. The 2015 Mazda CX-5 represents the absolute mechanical zenith of the entire first generation. Mazda completely eliminated the sluggish, underpowered 2.0-liter engine from the higher trim levels and replaced it with the incredibly robust, highly capable 2.5-liter Skyactiv G engine. This larger displacement engine utilizes a wider cylinder bore and a longer piston stroke to produce 184 horsepower and 185 pound-feet of torque. To counter the inherent secondary vibrations generated by a larger 4-cylinder displacement, Mazda integrated a heavy-duty balance shaft module directly into the lower oil pan. 2 counter-rotating shafts spin at twice the speed of the crankshaft, canceling out mechanical resonance and providing an incredibly smooth idle. It completely transforms the driving dynamics of the vehicle, providing effortless highway merging capability and passing power without sacrificing long-term reliability. Mazda perfected the software calibration for the multi-plate clutch inside the automatic transmission, optimizing hydraulic line pressure and friction material engagement. This permanently eradicated the low-speed lunging, the violent shuddering, and the violently harsh downshifts that plagued the initial 2014 2013 models. The true genius of the 2015 model year lies in what it does not have. Because this vehicle was produced exactly 1 year before the highly problematic mid-cycle facelift, it avoids every single catastrophic electronic failure associated with the newer models. The 2015 model utilizes traditional heavy-duty halogen or high-intensity discharge headlight assemblies depending on the selected trim level. There are completely zero-sealed LED daytime running lights to burn out and melt their internal circuit boards. When a halogen headlight bulb eventually dies after years of use, you simply open the hood, twist the plastic locking cap, and insert a new $15 standardized bulb. You completely bypass the devastating $1,200 complete headlight assembly replacement penalty. Furthermore, the 2015 model does not utilize the dangerously thin acoustic windshield glass found on the later models. The factory windshield is constructed from thick, traditional laminated safety glass. It effortlessly handles the severe torsional flexing of the unibody chassis without randomly developing massive, spreading stress cracks across the driver's line of sight. It also uses a heavily refined mechanical emergency brake lever connected via heavy steel cables to the rear brake calipers, located directly on the center console. This completely avoids the highly complex, expensive electronic parking brake actuator motors that frequently seize, rust, and fail on the newer modern crossover models. This specific year represents traditional heavy metal Japanese engineering. It is a purely mechanical vehicle that operates with absolute predictability. You must ensure the specialized transmission fluid is drained and filled every 60,000 miles to protect the internal clutch packs, and you must verify the engine air filter is changed regularly to prevent abrasive dust from damaging the sensitive mass airflow sensor. If you perform basic, routine maintenance utilizing high-quality synthetic lubricants, the 2015 CX-5 will effortlessly surpass 250,000 miles without a single catastrophic powertrain failure. Securing a reliable first-generation model is a brilliant financial move, but the next vehicle introduces a massive luxury redesign that completely silences the cabin without compromising the bulletproof powertrain. Best number 3, the 2017 Mazda CX-5. The launch of a brand new generation usually terrifies used car buyers due to the threat of unproven technology and unresolved assembly line quirks. The 2017 Mazda CX-5 completely shatters that logic. This represents the very first year of the highly acclaimed second generation. Mazda fundamentally altered the exterior sheet metal, engineering a longer hood line, narrower headlight apertures, and a deeply sculpted front grille, creating an incredibly stunning, aggressive profile that perfectly mimics high-end European luxury sport utility vehicles. Mazda engineers aggressively focused on absolute sensory isolation for the interior cabin. The first-generation models were heavily criticized for excessive highway wind noise, rattling interior panels, and harsh tire drone transmitting straight through the floorboards. To combat this, the 2017 model was engineered with obsessive acoustic precision. Mazda filled the hollow structural pillars of the steel chassis with dense, expanding acoustic foam to block resonant frequencies. They installed specialized double-pane acoustic laminated glass on the front windows to reject high-frequency wind rushing over the side mirrors. They added thick, heavy, sound-deadening mastic carpets to the floorboards and applied massive amounts of dense, fibrous insulation behind the dashboard firewall to block engine clatter from reaching the driver. The physical aerodynamic shape of the vehicle was optimized in a wind tunnel to reduce turbulent airflow around the windshield cowl and the door seals. The result is a rolling acoustic vault. The 2017 CX-5 operates in absolute silence at highway speeds, completely rivaling the interior quietness of a heavily depreciated BMW or Mercedes-Benz. Without the terrifying repair bills associated with German engineering, the mechanical brilliance of this specific year is based entirely on its production timeline. Because it is a 2017 model, it features the completely redesigned, luxurious second-generation chassis, the heavy unibody reinforcements, and the premium interior, but it utilizes the older, uncorrupted version of the 2.5-liter Skyactiv engine. This specific engine does not feature the catastrophic cylinder deactivation technology. It does not have the flawed aluminum cylinder head casting with complex oil galleries. It does not have the fragile hydraulic lash adjusters, and it will never crack its own engine block in half. It is a pure, unadulterated, naturally aspirated 4-cylinder engine that fires on all 4 cylinders permanently, ensuring constant thermal equilibrium across the entire engine block. You receive the absolutely stunning exterior styling and the deeply silenced interior cabin, while secretly utilizing a bulletproof, heavy metal engine architecture that Mazda abandoned just 1 year later. When purchasing this specific year, you must explicitly inspect the power folding mirrors. The internal plastic gears that fold the side mirrors inward when the vehicle is locked are notorious for stripping their teeth. Mazda utilized weak nylon gears that become brittle during extreme temperature shifts. When the gears strip, the internal electric motor continuously grinds and whines, but the mirror refuses to fold against the glass. Replacing the mirror actuator assembly requires dismantling the interior door panel and is a $300 repair. However, this minor cosmetic flaw is completely insignificant compared to the absolute bulletproof nature of the naturally aspirated engine and the proven proven automatic transmission. Acoustic silence elevates the driving experience, but the next vehicle on our list perfects the suspension geometry and adds mandatory safety technology to protect your family. Best number 2, the 2020 Mazda CX-5. Automotive engineers require several years of active production to identify and eradicate minor chassis flaws and suspension tuning deficiencies. The 2020 Mazda CX-5 represents the culmination of intense structural refinement. Mazda heavily modified the suspension geometry to completely eliminate the harsh, jarring impacts over rough pavement that plagued the earlier iterations of the second generation. They redesigned the internal valving of the McPherson strut front suspension. By altering the hydraulic fluid bypass ports within the shock absorber tube, the suspension reacts dynamically to high-frequency impacts like washboard dirt roads, remaining compliant and soft. They also altered the geometry and composition of the heavy rubber bushings in the rear, fully independent multi-link trailing arm setup, isolating the rear subframe to prevent sharp jolts from transferring into the rear passenger seats. Mechanically, the 2020 model year is an absolute fortress. Mazda completely resolved the metallurgical casting flaws that caused the cylinder heads to crack on the early cylinder deactivation engines. They drastically reinforced the aluminum casting around the rocker arm pivot bores, adding substantial structural material and altering the heat treatment process. This ensures the engine block effortlessly handles the hydraulic pressure of the deactivation system and the constant thermal cycling without fracturing. You can purchase this specific year with absolute confidence that the engine block will remain completely intact. The true value of this specific year lies in the massive safety upgrade. In 2020, Mazda made their highly advanced iActiveSense safety suite completely standard across every single trim level, including the absolute base model. You no longer have to hunt the used car market for a fully loaded Grand Touring model to secure premium safety equipment. Every single 2020 CX-5 includes full-speed adaptive cruise control with stop-and-go functionality. It uses a forward-facing millimeter wave radar emitter hidden behind the front emblem, paired with a stereo camera system to track the vehicle ahead. It automatically maintains a safe following distance, controlling the throttle and brakes, and bringing the vehicle to a complete stop in heavy crawling highway traffic. It also includes advanced lane keep assist, utilizing electric power steering intervention, automatic high-beam headlights, and standard blind spot monitoring with rear cross-traffic alert using high-frequency radar sensors mounted inside the rear bumper. You are securing advanced autonomous level safety technology, a perfectly tuned luxury suspension with dynamic handling software, and a heavily reinforced engine block for the exact same price as a heavily depreciated stripped-down competitor. You must perform routine maintenance on the high-pressure direct fuel injection system, utilizing high-quality polyethylamine fuel system cleaners every 10,000 miles to prevent hard carbon buildup on the back of the intake valves. If you maintain the fuel system and change the oil with strict regularity, this vehicle is entirely indestructible. Perfecting the suspension creates a flawless ride, but the absolute #1 vehicle on our list permanently eliminates a decade-old electrical curse that plagued every previous generation. Best number 1, the 2021 Mazda CX-5. The culmination of a decade of relentless engineering refinement results in the absolute holy grail of the compact crossover market, the 2021 Mazda CX-5. Mazda explicitly targeted every single minute flaw present in the previous iterations and violently engineered them entirely out of existence, creating an uncompromised masterpiece of mechanical and digital reliability. The most significant revolutionary upgrade involves the digital infotainment interface. For nearly 8 years, Mazda utilized a complex dashboard touchscreen digitizer that suffered from severe heat delamination. When parked in the hot sun, the optical clear adhesive binding the capacitive touch layer to the screen would physically separate, causing the infamous ghost touch defect. The screen would frantically dial phone numbers, change radio frequencies, and manipulate navigation coordinates completely without any physical human input. It was an infuriating electrical curse that terrorized owners and ruined the premium interior experience. In 2021, Mazda executed a brilliant, decisive engineering maneuver. They completely removed the touchscreen functionality from the vehicle. They installed a massive, ultra-high-definition 10.2 5-inch thin-film transistor display screen with a specialized anti-glare coating. This new, elongated screen is positioned much further back on the dashboard, keeping it out of direct sunlight to lower internal temperatures. Because it lacks a capacitive touch layer, it is controlled exclusively by a tactile, heavy metal rotary commander dial located directly on the center console, operating via the CAN bus network. By physically removing the delicate touch digitizer entirely, they permanently eradicated the screen delamination failure. The interface is incredibly fast, highly intuitive, and completely immune to the ghost touch defect. The driver controls the entire vehicle interface, Apple CarPlay, and Android Auto, utilizing distinct clicks and nudges of the central dial, without ever taking their eyes off the road or reaching their arm toward the dashboard. The powertrain options for this year are an absolute masterpiece of reliability and performance. You can secure the standard 2.5-liter naturally aspirated engine featuring the reinforced cylinder head, or you can hunt for the highly coveted 2.5-liter turbocharged engine. The turbocharged variant produces a massive 290 350 horsepower, and 320 pound-feet of torque when utilizing high-octane fuel. To eliminate the frustrating turbo lag commonly associated with forced induction engines, Mazda engineered a brilliant dynamic pressure turbocharger system. At low engine revolutions, when exhaust gas volume is low, a specialized restrictor valve closes inside the exhaust manifold. This forces the exhaust gas through a very narrow passage directly into the turbine housing. Just like placing your thumb over the end of a garden hose, this narrow passage massively accelerates the velocity of the exhaust gas, instantly spooling the turbocharger from a dead stop to provide immediate low-end torque. As engine speed increases, the secondary valve opens fully, allowing massive exhaust volume to flow through the traditional piping, generating high-end horsepower. Because Mazda engineered this specific turbocharged block to operate on a relatively low, highly managed boost pressure, it does not suffer from the violent thermal degradation and oil coking issues that destroy highly stressed German turbocharged engines. The heavy-duty 6-speed automatic transmission flawlessly handles the massive torque output. The all-wheel drive system, known as iActive AWD, utilizes an incredibly advanced predictive sensor network. It pulls dozens of vehicle parameters 200 times per second. It monitors outside ambient temperature, windshield wiper blade usage, steering wheel angle, lateral G-forces, and throttle position to preemptively calculate the exact moment the vehicle will encounter slippery terrain. The computer commands an electromagnetic clutch pack to instantly engage the rear differential, seamlessly routing torque to the rear axle before the front wheels ever begin to slip. The 2021 Mazda CX-5 is the absolute pinnacle of Japanese automotive engineering. It harbors zero catastrophic flaws, requires absolute minimal routine maintenance, delivers exhilarating turbocharged performance, and will effortlessly dominate the road for the next 2 decades. Which one of these 4 reliable Mazda CX-5 years perfectly fits your daily lifestyle? Did you know about the devastating cylinder head cracking issue, or the completely unnecessary touchscreen removal that saved the entire platform? Drop a comment down below. I read every single one, and I want to know your absolute worst transmission failure horror stories. If this video just saved you from signing a catastrophic loan for a depreciating time bomb, or armed you with the exact production years you need to hunt for a masterpiece, hit that subscribe button right now, and do not forget to like this video. We are building a massive community of drivers who absolutely refuse to be scammed by the automotive industry. There is a video popping up on your screen right now exposing 3 dirt cheap sport utility vehicles that effortlessly outlast brand new Toyotas. Click it before you forget. I will meet you over there.